Welcome back to She Can, where women lead by example. We lead with women's stories because it's easier to be what you can see. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy our conversations, and let's get to our next woman and her story. Elise Birkhofer, welcome to She Can. You are a leadership and love coach. You're the global head of women's community and programs at Google. You're an executive coach, a speaker, and facilitator, and you're empowering 60,000 women to thrive in their career and life. That's a massive amount of women. Your capacity to lead depends on your capacity to love, is a quote you said, and I want to talk about that more. You help women step into their full power as their true selves so they can thrive in leadership and in love. So tell us a little bit more about you, your journey, and how you got to where you are today, Elise.
Thank you so much for having me, Stephanie, and thank you for creating this incredible platform. I love the concept of just really highlighting women's stories and that we can be what we can see. So thank you so much for having me. I have always been passionate about people. My mother is a therapist, and I've always loved this idea of just wanting to be a great listener, wanting to hear what matters to people, wanting to help people reach their full potential. And it's what led me to study psychology at Stanford and really wanting to think about, human optimization and how do we become our best selves. And what I've ended up discovering from my own personal and professional journey is that so much of that comes down to our heart and our bodies and our souls. And what is it that we really want? And who is it that we really are? And why are we each here on earth? And I believe that we each have a mission. We each have strengths and gifts and talents and things that we're meant to do. And I think we can get a little lost on that journey. We can get distracted. We can get told or taught by maybe society or media or our parents or mentors sometimes that are trying to kind of fit us into boxes or push us into paths that might not actually be what we are meant to do. And through my own journey of really figuring that out of actually, I don't want to be exactly a therapist just like my mom, but actually I love coaching. And, I started at Google and I started in marketing 12 years ago. And I absolutely loved the environment of this tech company and the incredible innovation that was there. But it was, actually, I don't quite want to do marketing. And after 4 years, ended up pivoting into the people team and really being involved in helping develop talent and creating a culture where everyone feels that they can bring their best ideas and speak up about them and find their path and change roles if they want to shift their career, and to really create a supportive community of women who have each other's back in an industry that is really dominated by men. The tech industry is really more heavily balanced towards men, and there's a lot of work to do to help girls and women see themselves in science and technology. So I've kind of had my own moments of thinking I wanted to do a certain thing and realizing that actually it was a little bit different for my life, and shifting gears a little bit. And it's been a testing and iterating process in my last couple decades of learning about what I wanted to study, what I wanted to pursue professionally. And it all also anchored back to, I think, my personal journey of, most importantly, loving helping people connect with the truth of who they are and what they want in this life.
Elise, so tell us a little bit more about how people work with you. You obviously have a very big position at Google. It's a very big thing, and we have to talk about that more afterwards. How you can make those places of work, especially in the tech industry, more equitable, more inclusive. And that also means changing leadership styles and, so all of those things. But first of all, tell us a bit more about how people would work with you. How do clients, you do one-on-ones, you obviously do groups, you do retreats. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so my offerings right now are really customized to the people that get drawn into my world, and the areas that I'm most passionate about supporting women in are really in their love and relationships, but also how that relates to how they lead in the world. I
Mm,
believe that when we are truly open-hearted and loving ourselves and in beautiful connected relationships with those around us, whether it's romantic or not, that we can also show up and be our best selves and lead confidently and lead in an empowered way and use our voice strongly. And so I love helping, high achieving women who have often become a little stressed and burnt out, or maybe they've
mm,
started to become imbalanced with their masculine and feminine energy and think that there's a certain way that they have to give. Over giving often is a really common piece, and I love helping folks really come back to themselves and realizing that there's a balance for each of us in our energy of what do we give and how do we receive also, and how do we show up with confidence but not have to do it like we've seen men lead. How do we really stay
mm.
connected to our most deeply compassionate heart and the truth and wisdom of our bodies, and honoring our womb and our cycle and being able to be aware of that. And then in our romantic relationships and our love lives, how do we really understand, what it is that we want and need, and how do we communicate that to people that you're dating or in deep committed relationship with? How do you really communicate your true wants and needs, and how do you help yourself have a life that is full of, beautiful connection and love and affection and pleasure in ways that really fuel you as the whole person? And I believe that when we are connected to, our most loved self, because first and foremost we love ourselves deeply, but then that also reflects in what we've drawn in our friendships and our romantic relationship, that we're going to end up being able to be a more empowered person with a lot of beautiful juicy life force energy that's ready to also pour into our mission and the way we want to lead in the world.
Elise, now you have been talking about those practices, these embodiment practices, how we can reconnect with ourselves, our hearts. What top tips would you give to people listening who think, gosh, that sounds amazing, but how do you do that?
Yeah. It really can be so much more simple than we think. This isn't something that you need to spend, hours a day on. My top tips, especially that are really simple, and especially if you're starting out, are just spending a few minutes a day. It can be 5, 10 minutes connecting with your breath, connecting with your body. And I love to do this as a morning ritual. I really encourage, before you do anything, before you grab your phone, look at social media, which can be such a compulsive habit that we have,
Mm.
to really, whether it's sit in your bed or sit in front of an altar or look out the window, whatever that is, slow down, close your eyes, connect to your breath, connect to your body, see how you're feeling, be able to name that, move the body. I love to put on music and just in a non-performative way, you're not doing, dance choreography or anything fancy, just how does my body want to move? Does it maybe want to be touched? Do you want to hug yourself? Do you want to do some circles of your heart, of your hips, anything to just kind of get the energy flowing in your body. And I love the practice of journaling, of really getting in touch with, what am I feeling? What am I needing today? And, this is something you can come back to throughout the day. If I have 5 minutes between meetings, I will sometimes just, put my hand on my heart, put the other on
Mm.
my womb, and really tune in with, okay, how am I doing and how can I come back to presence before, I'm off to thinking, doing, or connecting with somebody else.
Elise, that's beautiful. And I want to say that's obviously not just for women, that's for everybody who's listening. These are really quick practices to reconnect with yourself. And the more you build them out, of course, people should get in touch and work with you and follow your courses or go on a retreat to really deepen those practices. But I think that's definitely a beautiful beginning for everyone to just find that connection, these connection points. Elise,
Yeah.
so you've done so much work with so many women or people in general. How do you feel can we make the workplace and therefore the world more equitable and inclusive?
Yeah. So we have come so long in this, such a far way, and there's still a long way to go to achieve gender equity in the world. And I think some of the most important things that we can do is just the very basic pieces of challenging our own biases that we have. You know, we tend to feel more connected and more empathy to people who are like us. And so when we've had these institutions of people in power looking certain ways, identifying in certain ways, it can be harder for people to open their hearts and see potential and see talent in people who are different from them. So a lot of folks who are in positions of power, CEOs of companies and government positions, tend to choose others who look like them. And so I think it's really important for us to be challenging our biases and assumptions around that, and be practicing active allyship of how can I give opportunities to people who are different from me? How can I build my network from people who are different from me? And men have a big role to play there. And believing and seeing that women have just as much to offer, have amazing ideas, have innovative new solutions for the problems that our world have. And so that's kind of at an individual basis, you know, challenging our biases and assumptions and expanding opportunity, creating opportunities and giving those to others to really stand up and have a chance to lead. The other important piece is creating cultures where people really feel included and that their voice matters. So, you know, in meetings, in day-to-day interactions, really ensuring that folks aren't getting interrupted, that people who maybe are more quiet are being called on and given a chance to share their ideas or ask their questions. Because often there's these natural societal dynamics that are playing out, especially in situations where there's an imbalance of, you know, there being more men than women in the room, of, you know, am I really safe to raise my hand and speak up here? Or am I really, is my voice really welcome and invited? So really just being aware of the dynamics of a group meeting, of projects, and making sure that people have their ability to contribute. And then another piece is really, you know, building on the skills that everyone has, both hard skills and soft skills, and investing in that sort of growth. I'm such a big fan of personal and professional development, and why I think coaching is such an amazing thing. When we have the support of mentors and coaches and we invest in our learning and growth, and this goes for anybody, no matter who you are, there's always things that we can learn and grow, whether those are technical skills for the career that we've chosen, or whether those are what you might call softer skills, but I think are very, very important, like empathy and emotional intelligence and speaking and communication. These are key parts of how we exist in the world, how we make impact in whatever we're doing in our career. We need to be able to relate with others. We need to be able to communicate our ideas and, offer whatever it is that we're offering in the work that we do. So really investing in the skills and talent of people, and especially people who have not historically been in power, maybe at a company or in an industry. I think it's really worthy to pour into the investment of them. And it's a lot of what we do with the Women's Network at Google, as we invest in career development programs and in events and workshops and learning opportunities for women to really grow in the way that they want to grow, need to grow in order to succeed. And it's not that certain people need more growth than others to catch up. It's just such a beautiful, worthy way for us to go about always pursuing our next leading edge of how we can show up in the world in our most competent, effective, and beautiful way, and also really build the confidence to do so. I see so many people in this world who have an incredible idea. Maybe it's a company they want to start or a project that they want to lead, and they're just stuck with self-doubt or fear. And to really have the confidence to bring out into the world the solutions that you see to the issues that we face, or an idea, a product or a service that you think could help people. We really need to have the confidence to do that, and the mentorship and support to say, yes, go for it. Take that leap, take that next chance, put your hand up for the promotion, leave and start your own company, whatever it is that people want to do. I think we can really use the support of community and networks and coaches to really help us do those brave things.
Definitely, Elise. And I love that you talked about active allyship and the open cultures. And what would you say is your leadership style? I mean, what are your takeaways? You've been doing this for more than 15 years. What are your biggest lessons, and how are you incorporating those into your leadership style?
Yeah. My main leadership principles really come down to being a human first. I care deeply about my team and the people that I work with, and I want to know them, what's going on in their life, what motivates them, what are they
Mm,
great at, and where are they wanting to develop, and how can I help match up the opportunities of what I see the team needing, Google needing, with the talented people on my team and the people that I work with, their biggest strengths, their biggest motivating factors. And I think when you have that kind of Venn diagram of like what the world needs or what a company needs and what people want to do and what excites them, like that magic part of the Venn diagram
mm,
is where you're going to get the biggest impact. So I try to really get to know the people that I work with and then help solve the business challenges that I see by pairing that up and helping people feel really excited about the North Star and the mission that we're working towards, being a visionary leader also that shows people where we're going, what's
yeah.
possible. I see a world where everyone has a voice and everybody has the chance to reach their full potential. And that's where we're headed. And I acknowledge that we're here now and there's still some challenges to solve
Mm,
there. But that's where we're headed, getting people excited about the vision, making sure that they feel clear on, what they're working on, why it matters, and why they're uniquely suited to do that. And then really being empathetic and caring. And I love to celebrate people's wins when they do an incredible job. And I love to have their back when they meet a challenge, when they meet an
mm.
obstacle, and really stand in front of my team when they need support in terms of, they're facing challenge. And I love to stand behind them and really celebrate them when they've done incredible work and really lift them up.
Elise, so do you think that we will have a more mindful and compassionate leadership or leaders in the future? Is that what we're working towards? To integrate
No,
this feminine energy to outbalance the imbalance we still have in the world today?
I do. I do. I think it's been slow progress in this, but I think consciousness is evolving on Earth. And I think people are becoming more aware of the ways that we've all been working, regardless of gender, that are not serving us. Folks are
Mm,
tired, folks are burnt out. It's a lot
mm,
for people to go work hard all day, be so mentally busy, and then come home and try to care for the family. And I think that we are waking up to new ways of being and ones that are more caring and compassionate towards ourselves and each other and the earth. And I think we have to. I think, we see the challenges that are out there, increased division and polarization, and the way that the earth is being treated that are not going to work. And I think there
yeah.
is an urgency and a need, and I think
Mm,
more and more people are waking up to it. And I hope that as we all realize that being more present and being more compassionate, to me, are the two keys. It's all you need to do is like come back to the present moment. We're
mm,
so often lost in the future or the past in our mental planning, and we also are able to have an open heart and be more oriented towards love and compassion in any moment. What would love do? What would be the kindest thing that I could do in this moment? And if we could just all remember those two things, how can I be a little more present and a little more loving? Our world would radically change overnight. And I don't think it's going
mm,
to be overnight, but I think that we're working slowly by bit,
yeah.
and every person really matters. And I want everybody who's listening to remember that you being more present and more loving influences everybody around you. And that can be a person that you meet at the grocery store, at the checkout counter, that can be a family member, that can be somebody at work. You being more present, more loving, and shining your light makes a huge difference and ripple on everyone around you.
Yeah. Beautiful. Elise, what would you say are your challenges? Do you have challenges? How do you reframe them?
Mm. Mm, yeah, I of course have challenges. I think every human being does. I would say I have such a big mission of, wanting to support, the rising of women's power and voices, and helping them feel their full potential in a world that has oppressed them for thousands and thousands of years. And so sometimes I do get overwhelmed or sad about the conditions that I see in the world, or feel like I have maybe overgiven and even been in that balance of feeling tired and burnt out and stressed from, that work of
Mm,
advocacy, really caring so deeply about wanting to make positive change in the world. And so, how I try to reframe those, and what I try to be mindful of, is remember that I can't be a martyr, and that I can't give from an empty cup. I have to refill my own cup first. My own well being practices are key, and that I'm not here to sacrifice my own well being in
mm,
order to support other women. I have to be a role model and be the example that I want to see for others in order to be in integrity with my message. And so
yeah.
if I start to get out of balance, I usually pretty quickly
Mm,
help, or I notice that, in order to say, okay, what needs to be different? How can I take care of myself more
yeah.
today? Whether that's, a nap, exercise, connection with a friend, my own support system, in order
Yeah.
to really be in integrity with self-care.
Elise, and what are your plans and goals? What are the big picture things? How else would you want to matter in the world?
Yeah. I am so excited about continuing to gather women together in community. I think there is such a magic that happens when we are in person together. And
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to running more retreats next year, on Kauai, for women to just have transformational experiences of healing and growth and connection with one another,
Mm,
practicing dropping into their hearts and bodies. And I believe profound shift can change. And I've seen that time and time again. And I also look forward to gathering women in leadership and business together to really build connections and know that we're not alone in this. And so, we'll
mm,
have an incredible big women's conference at Google next year. But I also envision more just kind of women of the world coming together, sitting in circles, singing songs, dancing, teaching one another skills. And I know there's some incredible gatherings like this that already exist that I love to participate in, and I look forward to, my own visions and creations coming through on that regard.
Elise, what would you like our listeners to take away from your story?
Mm. You know, there's one part of my story that I hadn't shared yet. That's part of why I care so deeply about embodiment and being grateful for the body and in touch with our body. And that was when I was 17 years old. I was paralyzed by a rare neurological disorder, and I had been, a varsity volleyball athlete and a dancer, and it was so humbling to have to be in the hospital, not sure if I would walk again, in a wheelchair, and a walker for many months, as a 17-year-old girl whose
Mm,
identity was so connected with my body's strength and my athleticism and teamwork and my artistry and creative outlet of dance. And what I learned in that moment was the power of the heart and prayer and positive psychology. And I think I really could have got swept up to a very depressed, scared place. And
mm,
what I chose to do at that time was to believe and have faith that I was going to get better, and that I was going to be a positive force towards my healing. And I did end up healing, and I did end up having a full recovery and getting back on the dance floor and the volleyball court within a year. And it's why I'm so, so, so grateful for my body and these incredible vessels that we get to be in this world. And we only get one body in this life. And so to deeply care for the body, to eat well, to drink clean water, to move our body daily, to feel our emotions, to manage our stress, to let things move through us energetically, is something that every person, I think, could put a little bit more care and thought and attention to. And I had that, that scary experience that really called me forth into the utmost care for my body, as well as the belief that what I think matters. It changes my reality. What I believe in, what I have faith in, and how I think is going to shift my outcome. And so I just want everyone to really not underestimate the power of your own mind, the power of your heart, the power of your body, and to care deeply for this one body that you have.
Elise, I think this is the most beautiful finish. Thank you so much for showing us what this could look like, this deeply embodied life of fighting for equity and inclusion, more mindful leadership, the active allyship, and really supercharging the sisterhood. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.